So far away, Lucas, and lovely audience at home. Welcome to another episode of Fact Fiend. That's the intro that I do on Wiki Weekends. That's like the cadence I use for those videos. Wiki Weekends is a thing. Go check it out. It's linked below. Lucas, do you want to talk about Black Panther: Wakanda Forever? We might be the first people to say that on YouTube this year.
Yeah, we're a little bit behind.
We are. We're striking while that iron is ice goddamn cold. So Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, and I know I pronounce... Lucas, how do you pronounce Wakanda? Because I say Wakanda. Is it Wakanda to you?
I normally go with Wakanda, yeah.
Okay, so Black Panther: Wakanda Forever is a film that centers primarily around a conflict between techno-futurist Africa and some water Aztecs.
I need to rewatch that movie and reevaluate it, because a lot of people have it in very high regard, and it just left a bit of a sour note in my mouth for some reason.
It was trying to do too many things. Like, you can completely excise the plot with Ironheart from the film, and nothing will change. Because it's so obvious that they're trying to set up Ironheart for their own series, and it really smacks of, like, remember in, like, Age of Ultron, where just Thor fucks off to go into, like, the Marvel preview pool?
Extinction.
To give him visions of the next 3 movies, it's like, that's not necessary, and it weakens this movie as a result.
I was going to say, it really brings things back to, like, the good old Marvel feel like people complain about, doesn't it? Of just random ham-fisted extra 30 minutes of movie that didn't need to exist.
Yeah, to set up for the next movie. But, continuing on with the intro, the decision to, make the primary antagonistic force a bunch of people who live in the water resulted in most of the cast learning how to swim, including the guy playing the main villain, who didn't know how to swim when he started.
This man.
I guess, Lucas, it's been a while since you've watched, like, Wakanda Forever, right?
Yeah, I think
Remember the
I've
plot?
most recently watched it maybe like a year, 18 months ago, something like that.
And for anyone like Lucas who watched the film on Disney Plus like a year ago and hasn't thought about it since, the basic plot is that the king of Wakanda dies, leaving the formidable nation quite weakened. Something that a bunch of water Aztecs decide to take advantage of by emerging from the ocean to tell Wakanda that they're going to kick the living fuck out of anybody who steals their precious vibranium. A fictional supermetal believed to only be found in Wakanda, until Namor turns up.
And obviously, people are going to be shouting in the comments about not just Wakanda pronunciation, but Namor.
Like, that's the thing, there's multiple different pronunciations of these things, and, like, the way I pronounce Wakanda, so I do want to pronounce it correctly, but they pronounce it multiple different ways in the film.
Weapon on your arm is from Wakanda?
Bingo. What do you actually know about Wakanda?
What dialect?
Wakanda, Wakanda.
Same with, like, Namor, where Namor pronounces his name differently to how everybody else pronounces his name.
Yeah, it's a little bit weird. It's one of those of like, what do you mean the Scarlet Witch doesn't have an accent anymore? It's just, don't worry about it.
Yeah. And it's like, I do want to pronounce these words correctly, but the actors in the films can't seem to agree on what the pronunciation is.
Exactly, yeah.
A key change from the comics in regards to the fishmen who come out of the ocean to beat up the future Africa people is that they no longer hail from Atlantis, and they hail from, instead, a Mesoamerican-inspired place called, and I have it here...
It's one of those weird changes where I think it was for the better. Obviously, it doesn't, respect the comics or whatever, but that was such a cool, different take on an underwater city rather than just it's Atlantis like we've seen in many other things.
And it's using imagery that has not often been seen in film and allow them to cast people who are not often represented in big tentpole projects like Marvel movies. And, I appreciate that, and the actor was pretty good. It's a pretty decent film, and it looked visually very interesting, as you said.
Yeah, and they were definitely one of the more impressive parts of the movie, and, like, I just, enjoyed them in the movie. But again, there was just a bit of a void where obviously, like, Chadwick Boseman had passed away, and just maybe that's why I'm just never gonna love that movie as much as the first Black Panther.
It's more as well, it's like Chadwick Boseman was like, you know, just a force of fucking nature, and he carried those movies on his shoulders. And they got Angela Bassett back, and it's like, fucking Angela Bassett can carry a goddamn movie.
Oh, she nails it in that film, yeah.
It's like, why not let her be the lead?
If she put on the Black Panther armor, that'd be sick.
Which she does in What If. Do you remember that? In like, there's the What If, where she did reprise the role. Like, she's the leader of the Dora Milaje. And you have, like, King T'Chaka when she puts the outfit on, go, that's my wife. And it's like, fuck yeah! And it's obvious why they didn't do that. It's because Angela Bassett is not going to be putting on a CGI catsuit and jumping around on screen for 3 more movies.
Not?
She should, but she's not going to. So instead they get Letitia Wright, who's like, there's a whole bunch of issues with her of like just harassing people on set of like, don't wear a mask. And it's like, there's a fucking pandemic that's killed people. And it's like, but don't wear a mask. It's like, god damn it, you suck so much and you can't carry this movie.
Yeah, and I think she played off T'Challa really well, but just didn't nail it as much in that role, and also doesn't get helped by the fact that, yeah, they're also trying to just hammer home Miss Ironheart stuff in the movie as well.
Which didn't really need to be done. Like, it should have been a movie that focused on that conflict, but instead it's the Marvel problem having to set up another project, because Marvel movies can't be standalone projects. They have to introduce and hint at something greater, which means that the thing you're watching has very low stakes, because you know the villain in the movie is going to be defeated by the end. Like, there's never going to be a threat that's not solved before the 90-minute mark, except for the threat that they're going to hint at for the next 3 movies.
And that's the thing, is Namor is quite a popular comic book villain in Marvel, and I think they might have changed him in the sense that he's a mutant in the comic books, but they couldn't use mutants at the time or something. But ostensibly, it's still the same character, and it would have been really cool to see them more fleshed out and used more.
Yeah, and the one thing I appreciate is that they gave him the stupid fucking wings on his feet. I
do appreciate that.
Because everyone, when the casting was announced, okay, you've changed the backstory to the character, and Atlantis is now this Mesoamerican Aztec inspired region, but he's got all those stupid little wings on his feet.
And if this was phase 1 of Marvel, it would have been that his boots had little painted on wings or something.
It would have been something like that, yeah, but because it's a little bit later and they can get a bit stupid with it, it's like, okay, he has the wings on his feet.
And that was great and made for some really cool different action scenes and choreography.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm a big fan of the idea of flying fishman, because what's the one thing you don't expect a near entirely aquatic villain or hero to do? Fucking fly. It's what a power move, right? So he lives in the water, he's super powerful in the water, also he flies. Wait, what? That's not what fish people do. This one does. But getting back to the casting, something the people in charge of that had to do is ensure they got people who were fairly strong swimmers, because they wanted to film a lot of the movie on location. Read underwater. So, Lucas, would you like to hazard a guess at how good of a swimmer Tenoch Huerta was when he first started making this movie?
Well, you may have spoiled this fact in the intro, but it sounds like not very much.
Well, in fact, he couldn't swim. And you might think, well, how could a guy who could not swim be cast as a guy who, in the comics, swims at 400 miles an hour? And of course, he's not going to be that good at swim, but a lot of this movie required him to be underwater. And he literally could not swim. And according to him, the way he got around it was, when the casting director went, okay, you're ready for the scene, you're pretty good, can you swim? He responded, well, I haven't drowned yet.
And he asked me if I know how to swim. I said I never drowned before. They were laughing, and then they called the producer, Nate. Nate called me back, and he explained everything to me. And he asked me again, do you know how to swim? I never drowned before. And then my team again called me and said, but you know how to swim? I never drowned before. Seriously, no, I don't know how to swim. Come on, man, you should say that, because it's dangerous. So.
Oh my God, the Submariner doesn't know how to swim. That's incredible.
And when he was cast and they brought him on set and they put him in the water, he just said, I can't swim. But by that point, he'd already been cast. So
The work has been done.
So rather than recast him, they had to teach him how to swim, which is such a power move, right?
That's the thing, right? At that point, it's cheaper and quicker to teach somebody to swim than it is recast them.
And that reminds me a little bit of how Mila Kunis got cast on that 70s show, because when she went in for the casting call, she was only 14 years old, and they told her, well, we need someone who's 16 for this role, and ideally you need to be 16 for this role. And she told them, well, I'll be 16 on my birthday. She just didn't tell them which. And when, when they cast her, and she told them that she was 14, well, you told us you'd be 16 on your birthday. And she went, yeah, but I didn't tell you which one. But by that point, she'd already been cast. And it was cheaper to just, okay, we'll work around her schedule as a minor.
Oh, God.
And that's just what Huerta did. It was just like, well, can you swim? Well, I've not drowned.
It's a very specific wording, though, but it's true.
You know what?
Drowned.
That's a villain move right there as well.
It is.
That is a villain fucking move. And it's really funny because according to him, when I say they taught him how to swim, I mean they literally gave him the little floaties on his arm and put him in a pool with children who were also learning to swim.
Yeah, very basics, and with these floaties that they
For real floaties? I think you were joking.
Yeah, with kids.
Wow. How embarrassing.
Totally.
And now
They
imagine,
should have kept that in the movie.
imagine, if he gets talking to the adults there, and he asks you, so what do you do? I'm an actor. He's like, okay, what are you doing? I play Namor. And imagine if any of the people that know who that is, wait, he's the guy who can swim, right? Isn't he the dude who swims underwater and punt a blue whale into orbit? What the fuck?
Well, he's not going to be learning to swim if he plays a character that can't swim, is he?
Yeah, but it's just so funny that I imagine it's like he's doing it in the full outfit.
Mm-hmm.
I know he didn't, but in my head it's in the full outfit. And apparently as well, they did make him wear the shame shorts as well. He had to wear these teeny tiny shorts that were just really embarrassing and left very little to the imagination.
Yeah, apparently so, right?
Because
That's a separate Fat Fiend video of the CGI lack of bulge.
And that's the thing. Apparently that's a huge deal with comic book movies of having to CGI actors' bulges to be more discreet or more aesthetically pleasing. And we've done a video in the past about the fact that Superman, and when actors playing him get cast, there's invariably an argument in costuming of how big Superman's dick should be. And because they have to put a codpiece into his suit, and there are generally two schools of thought. One, well, he's Superman, he should have a big dick, he should have a super penis. Or he's Superman, he's very modest, even if he did have a big dick, he'd cover it up. And Lucas, where do you fall? Do you think Superman should have a big dick or not?
I think just for the sake of it being entertainment and a movie, it shouldn't be big because that becomes distracting.
And the decision costumers normally reach is give him a modest, discreet codpiece that doesn't draw the eye too much.
Exactly, yeah.
Don't make him look like a Ken doll, but give him something down there. And the funny story is for the Christopher Reeve Superman movies, it was made out of metal. And the co-star playing Lois Lane would flick it to make a metallic ting between takes. I always think they should leave that in the movie so it just sounds like Superman's got a steel dick. So that's what they call him, the Man of Steel, baby. Ting!
And how big are you? How tall are you?
About 6'4".
6'4". And how much do you weigh?
Around 225.
Can you imagine just going to the list of powers and abilities on Superman's wiki and it just being well, Superman's got super strength, flight, ice breath, heat vision, super penis, what?
And as silly as this all sounds, someone somewhere has to take this into consideration, right?
A lot of these comic book movies, things like Batman Returns aside,
Suit me up, Uncle Alfred.
They are aimed towards a family basis, right? Maybe not just specifically children, but things that children can watch. And it is weird how, like, skin tight so many actresses, like, different costumes have to be, like, just, you know, Black Widow, for example.
Like, she's literally introduced ass first.
Oh, wow. Very, very impressive individual. She's fluent in French, Italian, Russian, Latin. Who speaks Latin?
No one speaks Latin. It's a dead language. You can read Latin or you can write Latin, but you can't speak Latin.
Because she modeled in Tokyo.
So, and moving away from that and back to swimming, near enough everyone on set had to undergo some kind of swimming lesson. Even the actors who were pretty good at swimming still needed to have a refresher course, specifically how to hold their breath for an extended length of time, which is not a skill a lot of people have. Like, even if you're a very strong swimmer, you might not necessarily know how to hold your breath for 2 to 3 minutes. That's like a very specific skill that needs to be taught. And it's not something a lot of people know how to do because it's not really that useful, even if you are, like, you know, a swimmer. Because you're not often staying 3 minutes underwater. Oh, yeah. You're, you know, even when you're doing lengths or something like that, you're only underwater for, like, you know, 20, 30-second bursts.
Yeah, and you usually, you know, taking breaths when you come up for a stroke and stuff. It's not a skill that you standardly learn while swimming.
So even the actors who were very strong swimmers still need to be taught how to do that. Also, they need to be taught, like, underwater choreography, because they wanted the people who were swimming, specifically the people playing, you know, like the submariners people, to swim a specific way, because they were born and live underwater. So they should act as if they are completely natural under the water, but also move in a way that is unnatural, if you know what I mean. Like, they should appear to be completely natural in the water, but move in a way that is not recognizable to us.
It was a multiple week-long process of them just coming to the tank, hanging out at the surface, learning how to do their breath holds. It's methodical, but it's also somewhat meditational in a way, where you need to kind of really get your mind to relax and be at ease as you hold your breath.
Well, that's the thing, is being completely natural in the water is not natural to humans.
Exactly, yeah. So it's like, you know, there's a bunch of stuff around that they had to learn. And this is one of the things that's interesting about Marvel movies. Like, it's these little things that I find most fascinating. For example, in Doctor Strange, they had this guy on set who's been like a consultant for every movie they have where they cast magic, where he's like an expert finger dancer. Do you know that thing like people like dance with their hands, do all the wiggly stuff with their fingers? Like, he's the guy who came up with all the spells for Doctor Strange.
And then it also breaks down even smaller to finger tutting, which you're doing boxes and shapes with just your fingers. And then it can get really funky where you're just kind of like doing alien fingers. JoJo is doing the fight scenes. I make the gestures to materialize these weapons and powers, and he gets to fit those things into the actual fight scenes.
He's the person who teaches people how to cast magic. Which sounds stupid, right? Like, just wave your hands around like an idiot. But no, if you're making movies where there's got to be consistency, you want Agatha to cast magic in the same way that Doctor Strange casts magic, unless she's casting a specific kind of magic. And if she is casting a specific kind of magic, there needs to be some sort of rules to how she does it. And there needs to be consistency between portrayals.
Do you come up with the hand stuff yourself?
I work with Jenny White, who's this amazing, like, postmodern British dancer.
And I think that's super interesting,
like,
right?
It is, because they have visual languages in those movies for those things, where Scarlet Witch and Agatha and the other witches in Agatha all along, like, they all cast magic in a very similar way, but Doctor Strange casts magic in a very different way, but he casts magic in a very similar way to how Mordo casts magic.
Yes. And admittedly, it's very funny that they have like an on-set magic consultant. But if all of the actors and actresses were allowed to just do whatever the fuck they wanted, just wave their hands around like jackasses, it makes the world feel less real, which is a weird thing to say about, you know, a world where they cast magic spells and stuff. But what I mean by that is, if all the witches, say like Agatha's Coven, cast magic differently, it kind of ruins the illusion, see what I did there, that they were all trained to cast magic in the same way. Because why are they casting it differently then? And it's the same thing for like the stunt choreography as well.
Yeah, and it's similar to how you make fictional languages, isn't it? Of just, say, for example, Elvish as like a language spoken in Lord of the Rings. Yeah, you can just make noises that sound vaguely Elvish, but all characters have to speak in an Elvish way to make them all sound like they speak the same language, even if it's fictional.
And even if it is fictional, there still needs to be rules. You might like fictional languages like Elvish is a full-fledged language where basically it has its own rules and stuff in it, but other ones are a bit more basic and they essentially just use English as a cipher language and just trade words and sounds in English for words and sounds in the made-up language that they're using, like Klingon, I think. Although I think Klingon has been it's more sophisticated now because fans have made up rules for it.
It's evolved over time, right?
Much like language does. But, getting back to the actors and actresses who could swim, the one on set who was supposedly the best was the actress playing Namora.
Drop your weapons.
Hey, she blue?
And that actress is Mabel, Cadena, and she was reportedly one of the strongest swimmers the person on set who was teaching people how to swim had ever seen.
And I presume when you're a person that is training people on set how to swim, you've probably seen quite a lot of people swim.
And according to the person who was teaching people how to hold their breath and swim properly, she was by far the most naturally gifted person there. And by the end of filming, she was able to hold her breath for 6 minutes in full costume.
Well, we actually hear that you hold your breath your first time that you went down. It was 8 minutes.
Well, it was 6.5.
We're gonna round up. We're gonna give you the 8. You deserve it.
Yes. No, but Tenoch actually did an amazing job too. It was actually 5 minutes, I think, or something like that.
Ooh, so how much of that is like a on-set record compared to the Avatar stuff?
Well, that's the thing, because, keep in mind all the makeup took 5 hours to apply. So it's not like, she was going in fresh. It's not like she could work out something beforehand. She had to sit in a makeup chair for 5 hours and then go hold her breath for 6 minutes. And according to the person who trained her, if he'd been given more time with her, which he was annoyed about not having, because, how often do you get to work with a complete natural? He said she could have easily learned to hold her breath for in excess of 10 minutes. Like, she could be approaching the levels of, seasoned freedivers with just a month or 2 more training. But unfortunately, I didn't have that much time with her, and she didn't need to hold her breath for that long.
Well, I spent 6 hours for that process for being blue.
And according to Cadena, she was really mad she couldn't do that because during production she learned that she broke a record previously set by one Tom Cruise, and that's the record for the longest amount of time an actor has held their breath for a scene. I think Tom Cruise's record was 4 minutes for that Mission Impossible movie where he gets drawn underwater. Here's a clip. But during production, that record was broken again by, and Lucas, you might know who this is.
Yeah, that would be Kate Winslet, who I was aware had the record now, but I didn't realise that it kind of got broken in between.
Yes, and the thing is, when you say, Kate Winslet holds a record for holding her breath the longest on a movie, everyone always thinks, on Titanic? Did she do it on... It's like, no, it wasn't for Titanic, it was for Avatar: The Way of Water, a movie I didn't even know she was in.
I don't know, it could have been 6:10, it could have been 7:10.
It was 7:15.
What? Come on! I watched that movie. I tried to watch that movie twice, and I didn't even see her in it. I didn't even know she was in it.
She's just under the water the entire time.
You never saw her. She was hiding. She was under the water the entire fucking time. Yeah, she broke the record on the filming of that movie. And according to Cadena, she was really upset because she broke the record and then no one gave a shit because Kate Winslet went and broke it straight afterwards.
Yeah, I remember that being mentioned quite a few times during Avatar: The Way of Water's little, press junkets and all that jazz, just trying to promote the movie of did you know Kate Winslet did this? But I'd never heard it with Wakanda Forever.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. It's one of those facts, right, that you can use on the press junket to sell the movie. It's just a really easy way to just open up an interview. And I feel really bad for that actress, because it's like, Kate Winslet, you've already got a fucking Oscar. Right? let her have it. Right? And I know it might have meant she drowned on Avatar: The Way of Water, but they can use that in the advertising. This is the film that killed Kate Winslet. God, don't have to be so selfish, does she?
How many movies has Kate Winslet been in that became the highest grossing movie of all time? It's at least 2.
It's quite a few. Do you know as well, she keeps her Oscar in her bathroom. And when she was asked, why'd you keep it in your bathroom? So it's because if it's in my front room, obviously, like when someone comes round, they want to go and play with it and touch it, and it can be awkward at a party. So if I put it in my bathroom, people can go in there, they can take the pictures, they can pose in the mirror, and they can put it back, and no one needs to know. Because as well, people also feel like really self-conscious about asking her to go up and pick it up. So I don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
So, I want it. It's like, you're not going to break it or anything, are you? But it's just that thing, like, people feel awkward to ask to go pick it up or take a photo with it, which is in my bathroom, then they don't have to worry.
Now they just get to pick it up with their unwashed hands.
That's going to be the worst bit, right? If you go in and see all, like, the fingerprints on it. It's like, oh, no. Oh, that's not good. But, yeah. I just find that hilarious, though, because now imagine when she's there and you have, like, the trainer of, like, this is the most naturally gifted woman I've ever seen in the water. She could hold, and she's underwater for, like, nigh on 10 fucking minutes while she's training. And you cut over to the main actor of the film, he's got the water wings, I'm like, and then when she's sat there going, who am I playing again? Oh, you're playing his second in command.
I still contend that he should have had both the little tiny wings and the water wings.
They should put the water wings on, that's where he gets his powers from. And the entire movie's him trying to steal his water wings off him.
It could be like Shang-Chi with the 10 wings.
He's just got 10 on his arms.
10 wings.
He's got all the way down his arm like a big, huge puffer jacket. Have you heard this, man? He's like impossible to drown. He's just got 10 water wings on his arms and his legs.
It's pretty simple. Look at what I'm doing and go tell somebody it.
Sorry. Bye, Andy.
Do you know that episode of Always Sunny where Danny DeVito is just trapped in like the play set?
Oh god.
Like that, where he's just stuck there with the water wings.
Stuck in the coil.
Oh, but yeah. Thank you for watching, everybody. See you all next time.